welcome to the presentation by Group 11. Me, Soumyakanti Das and Kevin Ashokbar are going to talk about hybrid decision trees. Go to the next slide. Okay. So classification is at the heart of machine learning and is used for multiple things like security and sentiment analysis. Paper 1 written by Khan and Malik talks about improving detection of network intrusions, and they use a technique called binary particle swarm optimization. In our paper 2, Karavaji introduces us to a new type of decision tree which is created using genetic algorithms and a multivariate fitness function. He uses this type of decision tree to diagnose faults on rotating machines. Yeah. Okay. So, classification can be done using multiple techniques, but decision trees is one of the widely used ones. It is so because it has multiple advantages, such as you can implicitly perform feature selection, it is easy to interpret, and it requires low effort in creation. Decision trees have multiple phases like a growing phase and a pruning phase. We are just going to talk about the pruning phase. Why it is required? Because a decision tree, a subpart of a decision tree may not have enough power for the end result. To remove these kind of parts, we use pruning. Pruning also helps our model to work faster. Pruning prevents overfitting of the model. Pruning is a very important technique and we should be careful while using it because we have to maintain a balance between generalization and overfitting of the model. Pruning has two techniques, pre-pruning and post-pruning. In pre-pruning, we stop the growth of a tree when it reaches n depth level. In post-pruning, we let the tree grow to its complete depth and we start pruning them. You can use multiple ways to prune subparts of a tree, such as you can replace them with a node most popular in their class, or you can use cross-validation error to prune the tree. Now, Soumyakanti will take over.
So, in the first paper authored by A.J. Malik and A.F. Khan, they talk about intrusion detection system. Intrusion detection is a technology that analyzes a computer event and categorizes it as normal or anomalous. There are two categories, misuse detection and anomaly detection. In misuse detection, we compare an event with a large database of past attack signatures, and in anomaly detection, there is a clear boundary between what is normal behavior and what is anomalous behavior. Both of these systems has their disadvantages. Like misuse detection systems cannot detect novel attacks, while anomaly detection system has high false positive rate. So in this paper, the authors propose to improve intrusion detection with a decision tree classifier pruned with binary particle swarm optimization. So what is this algorithm? Basically, we are trying to simulate movement of a flock of birds or school of fish. We have n particles in a swarm, and each particle is a binary bit string representation of certain length. We have also, those particles have a velocity associated with it, and fitness value can be calculated on the bit string representation. Without going into much detail, we can change the velocity. We can calculate new velocity with based on certain parameters like its old velocity, its position, its historical best position, and the swarm's best position. And with this new velocity, we can calculate the new representation of the particle. And the main idea is that all particles will converge to an optimum state, and these particles will help each other to reach that state. Next slide. The authors used this data set KDV99CUP. So first of all, they the full tree is allowed to grow, and then they post-prune with PPSO algorithm. So what happens is, after the full tree is grown, every node is assigned a number starting from 1, and the root node and the leaves don't participate in this method. So so the first image, the image at the top, is the list of branch nodes, and we generate a particle of same length. Only those nodes in the original tree is kept for which the corresponding value in the particle is 1. This is the pruned tree. So based on this pruned tree, a fitness value is calculated. Next slide, please. Okay, so the authors propose two objective functions, the IDR and FPR, and they propose they explore single objective pruning and multiple objective pruning. In single objective pruning, one swarm is used to optimize IDR, while in multiple objective pruning, 2 swarms of N particles are used to optimize both IDR and FPR. And this diagram gives the general flow. We initialize the binary swarm, then we prune the decision tree, we train the pruned decision tree on training data, test it on testing data set, and we calculate a fitness, and we keep iterating until termination condition is met or the fitness has stopped increasing. Next slide, please. This is their results from their experiments, and as we can see, SODTP, which is optimized on the IDR objective, performs best of all these classifiers, while MODTP, which is optimized on both IDR and FPR, not only performs best in FPR, but also in other categories like accuracy, precision, node count, and classification cost. Now I invite Kevin to talk about the second paper.
Another approach to use in the design of decision trees is genetic algorithm. It's also an evolutionary algorithm as PSO. GA is population-based, and it is used in the second paper in order to design a decision tree, the optimal one, and including as many features as possible in order to prevent pruning and in order to prevent the tree to grow to an infinite level. And as a case study, the authors have used GA-based decision tree design method for fault diagnosis of a rotating machine in an industrial setting. Genetic algorithm, basically it mimics human behavior and human DNA, and it is a population-based algorithm. It starts by initializing the population, and it computes the fitness of each of the chromosome. A chromosome, which is an instance of the solution, based on a given fitness function. We come to the level where parents are selected from the population, and reproduction comes into effect where we have crossover and mutation on the parent's chromosome, crossover and mutation between the genes to produce a new population which is going to update the old population, not entirely updating, but the best from the new populations are going to replace the worst in the previous population. The iteration will continue until a stopping criteria is met. The initialization in using GA genetic algorithm for decision tree design is basically a binary representation of the chromosome with zeros and one, and 5 genes are taken into account. The first gene refers to the attribute set, the attributes which are taken into account in the decision tree design. The second gene refers to the size of the training set. In this example, the size is 40, so it is the binary representation of 40. The third gene is for the testing set, a binary representation of 20 in this case. The fourth is the decision tree model. It refers to which the index of the model that is being used. And the last one represents the parameters that are taken into account, the secondary parameters like the chromosome and also mutation and crossover percentages and probabilities. The evaluation of using GA on a DT design environment is based on three basic criteria, which is precision, trust, and simplicity. Precision is basically talks about the classification accuracy. Trust is a measurement of confidence. It takes into account the precision, and simplicity is a measurement of the complexity of the model. Generally, it favors models with smaller size and models based on smaller attributes, which are designed considering a small number of attributes. The crossover is in GA for DT design is used in this paper is a single point crossover, basically defining a single crossover point and shifting the chromosomes in order to produce an offspring population, taking the left and the right of two different parents, combining them. The mutation here basically modifying one or more genes from a selected parent. We can there is 1% mutation rate taken, which was selected in the paper, which is 1% probability of modifying a given gene from a given parent. The stopping criteria is the maximum number of iteration, and also when the 50% of the population, the first and the attribute sets, and the fourth, which refers to the DT model, has reached a 50% rate. Before validating their method, the authors have conducted a series of experiments, and the case study is in an industrial setting for fault detection on rotating machine, and comparisons with state-of-art methodologies were conducted. Comparisons with naive-Bayes polynomial kernel support vector machine, and the accuracy out of the computation gives a high accuracy to GA, an accuracy which is similar to SVM and N3 minor, but we can see there is a low performance from NB, naive-Bayes, and SVM polynomial kernel support vector machine. So at the end, the author concluded that their approach is very efficient and can be used, especially to handle the dimensionality issues of decision tree design too. So that's all for the presentation. Thank you very much for your attention, and enjoy your reflection.